Get high, and evil thoughts take over.
I will break out soon, and I will kill more.
Many criminals forget every action has a consequence. But once they face the law,
yes, ma'am, your life is ruined.
not everyone is willing to take the heat.
Term of life without parole has to count for.
Begging for mercy, spewing curses,
That's not more.
or even desperate moments of retaliation.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else.
Here are insane reactions criminals gave when they realize they're going to jail.
I'll see y'all in hell.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court
In one of the most viral cases, Deborah Redden faced District Judge Mary Kay Holtus, who was in the middle of sentencing him when he did the unthinkable. He lunged at her, even crossing the table.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court
Thankfully, Judge Mary Kay was able to predict his actions just a second before it happened and escaped unscathed. But the corrections officers had gotten a hold of Redden, refusing to let go until the court proceedings temporarily halted. The sudden tackle came moments after Redden tried to plead his case, even saying he shouldn't have to go to prison for a second time.
I feel that I shouldn't be sent to prison for a second time.
But the judge ultimately got the last word,
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else.
sentencing him to 48 months, not counting his courtroom mishap. Melissa Hardwick. Melissa Hardwick was in court for a DV case, where her ex-husband had come forth to seek protection against her. Hardwick kept maintaining she never laid a hand on her husband, but when she came in front of a judge, she quickly switched courses and cursed the judge for intruding in her personal life.
Our personal life. It's your business.
She then continued interrupting the judge, disrupting the court proceedings. And just as it became clear the judge wasn't afraid of her, Hardwick lunged at her, almost tackling her before being taken away by the officers.
You'll be saying what happened, Jennifer.
Her sentence, 120 days in court for contempt, and a proper charge, just like her ex-husband wanted. Cameron Herron. Cameron Herron claimed the lives of a mother and daughter duo after drag racing a friend. Herron pleaded guilty. He was facing a minimum of 18 years, but his attorney made a plea to reduce the sentence.
This sentence of 24 years versus 6 is excessive.
This came at a time when Herron made rounds on social media, with people supporting him solely because of his handsome looks. Of course, such vile acts wouldn't hold in court. The court did not find the situation an accident, because past records showed Herron had frequently driven above the speed limit, and he was very clearly drag racing in an area popular with pedestrians. So the court sentenced him to 24 years in prison.
For a total 24 years Florida State Prison.
And Herron's shock is clearly visible through his mask. Luis Bracamontes. This might just be one of the most disrespectful criminals you'll ever see. Right off the bat, Luis Bracamontes starts smiling at his hearing. Insolent enough, but wait till you hear his crimes. Luis went on a violent crime spree in October 2014. Some of his crimes included carjacking, brandishing weapons, and threatening neighborhoods. Eventually, Luis's actions ended up costing 2 officers their lives. Disgustingly, Luis even smiled at the court camera, suggesting this evil man was enjoying this attention. And then, he said this.
I will break out soon, and I will kill more.
If his crimes weren't horrible enough, and his actions unimaginable, he stoops down a level, proving the man should never be let out. Deeming him a menace, the judge rightfully decided he doesn't deserve to live. Mackenzie Shirilla.
And at this point, I would like to comment specifically on Exhibit 802, the crash video.
Watch Mackenzie Shirilla, a 19-year-old woman, react to being sentenced 15 years to life after she literally drove her boyfriend and a friend to their ends. In court, Mackenzie declared it was an accident, that she'd lost control of the car. But investigations revealed she had planned it all, and even hoped to reach her end through it. Mackenzie tried pleading her innocence, apologizing for her actions and crying.
I'm done, Xavier. I'm so deeply sorry.
But the presiding judge didn't believe her.
She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street.
And here, the judge claims Mackenzie's actions were intentional.
Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving.
It seems Mackenzie realized her fate as she slowly sobs before being taken in shackles.
2903.02a is charged in count 1. Count 2. The court, having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver.
Sadly, all those sobs won't get back the lives she took. Keith Ferguson. Keith Ferguson was apprehended for claiming the lives of 2 people, and when in court, he acted in a way that was bound to get him in even more trouble. When hearing details about his crimes and the possible lengthy sentencing, Ferguson quickly erupted into rage. At first, he just leered at the judge and swore profanities.
Okay, stop.
He then made an obscene gesture at her. He was quickly taken away. A few months later, Ferguson was back in court, but in front of another judge. Here, he once more cursed the judge, who quickly shot back about sentencing him 100 or more years. Ferguson's reply?
100 years or whatever, and give me the out of here.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, well do it!
Insane. And thankfully, locked up.
I'll see y'all in hell.
Zaire Duffy.
I was doing good out there. I was not selling drugs. I was doing none of that.
Watch how Zaire Duffy tries to pull one over the judge. After racking up 8 charges, Duffy was sentenced, but let out a bit later on parole. While he should have stayed clean, Duffy violated his parole, landing him in front of this judge. Initially, Duffy tried to convince the judge that he'd turned over a new leaf, but would he believe him? No. The stone-faced judge showed Duffy the mirror, and his crocodile tears went swimming back up. And here is his true face.
It's justice because I gave you more opportunities. I'm talking right now.
Not even facing the judge out of anger, and a look of pure venom. Dominique Slaughter.
You always. This is my opinion.
In 2020, Dominique Slaughter was sentenced to 1 year in jail for stealing a credit card and carrying a concealed possession, but he never reported. Despite this, the judge at the time allowed him to walk free while wearing a GPS tracker. But in 2023, Slaughter was summoned to court under the impression that this was just a routine hearing. Little did he know, he was being sent behind bars. The decision came after his probation officer revealed Slaughter not only failed to appear at several hearings,
Mr. Slaughter still has not paid anything towards his fees, costs, or restitution,
but also committed more crimes during that time. When Slaughter realized the truth, he was in pure disbelief. He even begged the judge,
You're at the end of probation. You gotta serve this time.
but she didn't budge and swiftly sent him away. Kyandria Cook. Kyandria Cook lured a man into South Daytona using a dating app and tried to carjack him. But sadly, things didn't go as planned, and in a rush of rage, frustration, and panic, Cook took a life. Despite the serious crime, Cook's lawyer assured her that she wouldn't go to jail. Well, that was a stupid claim, because the judge slapped her with a 20-year sentence. Cook's mother began wailing loudly in the court, probably also being falsely assured by the lawyer. At that moment, Cook looked back in distress before she began crying too. but actions cannot be reversed. Bass Webb. Bass Webb has so many crimes under his belt, he would have gotten a hefty jail sentence no matter what. One of his crimes was taking the lives of 2 of his exes in separate incidents. He then tried to do the same to 2 corrections officers. Yep, that's a crime spree that's impossible to get away from. But when Webb was brought in front of the judge, he moved closer to her and then spit at her. The judge was understandably disgusted and demanded Webb be removed from the courtroom so she could continue with the sentencing. Teddy Baltimore Smith. Imagine taking someone's life just because they spit on your car. Sadly for one man, a road rage action took the worst turn when Teddy Baltimore Smith committed this crime. After long court proceedings, it became clear Smith was unable to control his emotions, especially after it was revealed that the victim hadn't specifically targeted Smith, but had just spit out the window, accidentally dirtying Smith's BMW.
Cerno was a passenger in this utility truck when he spat out the window and it landed on Smith's black BMW.
The court decided to sentence him to 28 years, and Smith's reaction is incredulous. He complained! The audacity of this man! Well, at least he's behind bars now. Jaleel Smith Riley. Jaleel Smith Riley was responsible for the tragic demise of Portia Brooks, and nearly 2 years after the tragic event, he was finally brought into court. Smith broke down in tears during the victim impact statements.
I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
But stayed silent. With tears streaming down his face, Smith apologized for his actions and wished to go home.
I'm so sorry. This is what I come home with.
His lawyer assisted his statement, claiming Smith wanted to go back in time and stop himself from committing the atrocious act. But it's clear he's putting on a show, as the tears quickly stopped, and Smith awaited his sentencing.
Life without parole has to count for.
Milton Watts.
That's going to cost you 30 days in the county jail for contempt. Cuff him.
If you ever find yourself in hot waters, follow one rule. Do not talk back to the judge. After Milton Watts refused to show up to serve multiple counts, he was finally summoned. But instead of taking the heat, Watts decided to justify his absence. Only it didn't go to plan.
Last month, you did not appear. Why weren't you here?
My mom didn't show up. Somebody died in the family. There was no reason for me to be here.
To make it worse, Watts looked repeatedly irate, as if the judge was in the wrong. His behavior got worse, and he ended up in shackles, facing a $5,000 fine. But does that stop him? Instead of apologizing, he doubles down.
That's not more.
Even his mother looked ashamed, but failed to stop him.
Stop! Everybody, you.
The judge wasn't having it, and increased his jail time the more he swore. Michael Swanson.
We find the defendant guilty of murder.
Michael Swanson took 2 lives and was in court to hear the verdict. Throughout the court proceedings, the 18-year-old criminal was seen remorseless and even passing smiles when hearing details of his crime.
Find the defendant guilty of robbery in the first degree. Signed, foreperson.
This, along with incriminating evidence, was enough for the jury and the court to sentence him to a minimum of 25 years.
Prison for the rest of your life is the only alternative.
But then Swanson did something disgusting. He laughed at the victim's impact statement.
I want to know if you're even sorry. Are you sorry for what you did?
Quickly earning him a hefty sentence that won't be eligible for parole. Kayla Norton and Jose Torres. In 2015, Kayla Norton and Jose Torres interrupted an 8-year-old's birthday party. armed with weapons and waving Confederate flags. The couple, along with a dozen accomplices, terrorized the guests, threatening to hurt them solely because of their rage. This came just days after a racially motivated incident took multiple lives, so tensions were high. But thankfully, Norton and Torres were quickly apprehended. Norton was slapped with 15 years and desperately tried to convince the jury this.
That's not me. That's not me. That's not him. I would never walk up to you and say those words to you.
But it's clear she's only sorry she got caught. If she hadn't, who knows what she might have done. Leonid Grazer. Not all criminals are masterminds. Sometimes they're just evil people with nothing going on up there. Leonid Grazer was apprehended by the Russian court and boxed in a protective section of the court as he awaited sentencing for taking his own sister's life. But it seems he had other plans, ridiculously trying to squeeze through the glass.
Which is exactly what Grazer's planning to do.
Officers quickly caught him, and naturally the plan would have never worked. But the exact moment the cops became distracted, he managed to outsmart them, this time aiming for the roof. He almost succeeded, but a quick officer caught his leg. Grazer's plan was not only foiled, but literally got him stuck in his own scheme. Tobias Roman.
Stand up. I'm full of her, so I can't stand up right now. Am I right here?
Stalking, robbery, exhibiting a weapon, and hurling threats. These are just some of the crimes that brought Tobias Roman to court, and it looks like he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve. He was wheeled in after supposedly hurting his foot. At first, he tried to keep up the excuse, but eventually gave up, proving that he was just lying from the start. He then started giving smart answers to the judge, even shifting his attitude. It didn't end there. He continued disrupting the court despite multiple warnings.
Hey, Mr. Roman, you need to be quiet.
Yeah, you need to be quiet.
You get one more chance and then you're going to be removed from the courtroom.
So the judge sent him out of the room. Just as he leaves, he threatens the judge, who quickly sentenced him to 3 years. Tony Farmer.
Tony Farmer, a highly recruited high school basketball star, being sentenced for his crime.
Shock, disbelief, and whispering his emotions to his attorney. Tony Farmer, an 18-year-old high schooler, basketball star, and once a hopeful pick for the NBA, reacts when the judge recounts his actions, specifically a robbery and inflicting bodily harm on his own girlfriend, were felonies. It seems Farmer wasn't really expecting to be held accountable, and just as the judge read his sentencing, 3 years behind bars, Farmer collapsed in anguish. But the corrections officers weren't letting it slide. If only Farmer had as good a head as basketball skills, he'd be on the NBA court instead. Chris McNabb.
Since I'm pretty sure by the law states that I have a right to confront my witnesses who accuse me of doing wrong, so I felt like I wanted to say it in front of her since she was the one up here slandering me.
You're probably wondering what he's about to do. Well, what happens is quite unexpected. McNabb was under custody for a crime too horrible to even mention. And when McNabb was confronted in court, his reaction was interesting, to say the least. McNabb began by claiming he was innocent and would never do such a thing. This was a clear attempt at guilt-tripping the judge and jury. But the judge was quite smart and did something unexpected. He asked McNabb what he thought about the sentence.
I'll ask you one simple question. Claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
And then this happened.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. Do you understand each of your sentences?
That's what happens when you try to play mind games with a judge. Jameer Keys and Jesus Ayala.
Two teens accused in a crime spree that included what police say intentional hit-and-run killing of a retired police chief officer.
Two teens who brutally took the life of another exhibit the most disgusting behavior in court. Jameer Keys and Jesus Ayala were so disruptive, the court even positioned them 3 seats apart. But this did not stop them from disrespecting the victims and their families.
How can you sit there after taking a man's life and act like such an entitled They really have no remorse that this is just a game to them.
Throughout the proceedings, the duo exchanged meaningful glances and smiles, as if they were taking pleasure in the moment. Then, Ayala and Keys took it too far. They began actively giggling, talking, and at one point even made obscene gestures. Their attorney did try to talk it down, but came under fire for his own behavior, as the court cam showed him laughing with the criminals. Well, Ayala and Keys were quickly sentenced, and their lawyer faced some serious backlash. Tyrone Johnson.
Defendant breaks down as he's questioned by police about the killing of his girlfriend and her 10-year-old son.
Tyrone Johnson deprived 2 people of their lives, but it was him who began shaking with fear when he faced the consequences. This was even before he was standing in front of the judge. Johnson was actually still under investigation, but as cops got closer to the truth, he started hyperventilating. Stuck in shackles, Johnson had no choice but to stay put. At one point, he even stares at his hands as if in disbelief about what he had done. But the cops let him writhe in agony, knowing well his actions were unforgivable. It is clear Johnson only cares about himself. Despite his act, the jury found him guilty, leading him to get a life-ending sentence. Amber Pereira. Amber Pereira was involved in a nasty DUI case where she collided with another car, causing an entire family to lose their lives. Pereira was cornered by police after she tried to escape the scene, and was quickly brought to court, where the judge ruled against her, claiming her antics were conscious and willing. Then, Pereira had the audacity to claim her life had been ruined after this incident. And this is what the judge had to say.
Yes, ma'am, your life is ruined, but you also ruined a lot of lives and ended 3 lives.
The judge then ruled against Pereira, sentencing her to 50 years to life. All Pereira could do was to cry. Franecha Torres.
You have 3 warrants for armed robbery and 1 warrant for felony murder.
Franecha Torres might just have the craziest reaction, because it's clear she didn't know. If you do the crime, you do the time. Torres was just 17 when she and her 2 friends, Nicholas Evans and Khalil Miller, robbed a couple of houses, and sadly took the life of a young man during one of the robberies. Although Evans and Miller were found guilty and sentenced quickly, Torres believed she wouldn't be convicted because she didn't physically do anything. But she quickly learned being involved in a crime can have different definitions.
The charges that are pending right now.
Nicholas Lindsay.
His mom said little when it was over.
It's what the judge ordered, so that's what it is. It is what it is.
There are many cases in which the criminal's family supports them, but Nicholas Lindsay's case is not one of them. Lindsay was arrested and charged after he took down an officer who was just doing his job. Lindsay remained calm and collected in court, acting as if he hadn't done anything wrong, but even his parents wouldn't support him and asked him to confess.
You got to tell the truth, son. We right here. I was not there.
But despite breaking down in tears during interrogation, Lindsay had the opposite reaction when he was sentenced to life without parole.
But Lindsay actually grinned when the judge read his ruling.
Isabella Guzman. In 2013, Isabella Guzman, then 18 years old, cruelly took the life of her own mother. When she was brought to court, Isabella remained far from remorseful. In fact, she seemed calm and relieved, much to the court's chagrin. Isabella pleaded not guilty, saying she was not mentally sound at the time. This was later proved by a psychiatrist, and the fact Isabella